Nevada and Arizona are the two most urbanized states in the entire union. We have densities that really are greater than some of the big cities, but on the other hand, we don't have the kind of high density cores that older cities do. And so people who normally say things like light rail won't work because you have to have all these thousands of people who can walk light rail. Well, guess what? In the West, it doesn't work that way. What people do is, for right now, they get in their car, they go to a park and ride, and they get on light rail. And they do that by thousands. 14 million riders in Phoenix last year on our light rail, on all economic areas. I went to a retirement village in Mesa, of which there are just one or two. And I'm sitting there in front of about 100, every time I say this, I offend somebody. Senior citizens, there we go. I used to say senior, then I realized I'm old enough to live in one of those places. But they're all older than me, and I'm sitting there, and Mesa is also unique in that we are about the reddest big city in America. Democrats they're not in the minority. They verily are a rounding error in Mesa, okay? And so I'm sitting here among all these retirees, fixed income, and the question comes, Mayor Lyon, I'll talk to you about that light rail extension. I'm going, oh my gosh, here we go. Because the next thing I'm going to hear about how transit is a communist conspiracy. Yeah, what about it? Well, when's it going to happen? I says, well, it's going to start hopefully next year if we can get the funding done. Well, I'm not going to be here very much longer. Can you speed it up? I go, excuse me? He said, yeah, I love going on light rail. We do that all the time. That's how we get around. Now, this is about an 80-year-old man. And I said, well, if I could ask you a question, how many of you ride light rail on a consistent basis? And I would say a couple, 3 times a month. 80, 90% of the people in that audience. And they start talking about it. I say, it's changed our life. It's changed how we do things. We don't commute to work. We don't like getting in the city. We love going down, park and ride, get on, and we go do things. We go spend money. It's an adventure. It's a way we get around. And that's what we found in the West. Phoenix, Salt Lake, Denver, very similar. Because Western living is different. We're not going to replace the car. But what we've done is that we've caused people to change the way they live. And another interesting thing has happened. Oops, hitting the wrong thing. We recently started the construction of that extension. 3 miles that goes from the end line right now right through our downtown. Now, if you've never been in Mesa, which I'm assuming most of you never have, it's a very traditional downtown. We're 134 years old. We used to be a regional economic center, very traditional downtown. Light rail is headed right up Main Street. It's not a downtown that you would drive out of your way normally to go to. It's been replaced by the regional malls. Exciting things have happened since we announced light rail. And we've used it to not reinvigorate our downtown, but to create an economic center, to create exciting things. The first thing we did is we figured out how we could go further. Now, we had a combination of local and federal monies that we went back and worked very carefully with the Federal Transit Administration and others to figure out how to fund this. The majority of it was funded with a local sales tax. But we didn't have monies to extend it another 2 miles out of our downtown to what has traditionally been here at Gilbert Road. Gilbert is like a 6-lane parkway that runs north-south. It's very much a traditional separation between East and West Mesa. And we didn't have the money to do that 2 miles, so we had to work, and we got very, very creative. We actually worked legislation through the legislature to use federal road street monies, and we transitioned them into doing light rail. Why? Because the light rail has created economic and social and cultural benefits that we never envisioned. Here's the other thing. In a red city who fought not to get light rail, much like Salt Lake, Mesa is now not only hooked, they're committed to light rail. Even our most conservative understand the place that it has. And things like rail have a place because every great metropolitan area, the thing that makes them great is they offer options. They offer alternatives. They offer ways that people can choose to invest and choose to live. And so we decided that our downtown, who had seen better days, needed that option back again. And that's why light rail is so important to Mesa, and it will be an economic driver. The reason I know that is because so far, it already is. This is our Mesa Arts Center, $100 million facility that is beautiful, theater, 4 theaters, arts. It was recently, as a matter of fact, named by the International Organization of Venue Administrators as the International Venue of the Year. We beat out the Sydney Opera House. It's a great place to be. If you were watching, as many of you may have, last February, the pivotal Republican GOP debate was held in the Mesa Arts Center. Something would have never happened. Because why? Mesa was ignored. We said, why not? We have a $100 million arts facility. Well, you know, we fought, we got it, and it got people to notice what was happening. Things like that start happening when you're focused on things like heat. Now, believe it or not, the GOP debate actually fit in with our economic development activity because we recognized that we couldn't get people to notice us and to invest unless we did something that was different, something that was unexpected, something that literally was deemed to be impossible. And for Mesa to host an event like that in Arizona, within Arizona, was, oh, you know, that didn't happen. Amazed how many people changed their perception. And it's changed it so much that now all of a sudden we have things like this. It was 25 years since the last sizable investment in downtown Mesa on any commercial property came. Within the last year, we will now have well over $60 million in new high-density urban-style residences that have either announced or broken ground. 3 of them have already broken ground. The 4th one just announced. The only reason that happens is because of the change. They've done it in anticipation of light rail. They have leveraged federal monies that are transit-related. You know, and that's one thing. There's not going to be a whole lot of money coming out of Washington in the near future, but there is enough that you got to be creative. We did a plan, an overall general plan for our what we call our Main Street corridor, for the 5 miles from the end station right now down to the Gilbert Road extension. And it was all paid for by the federal government, by the Department of Energy. Now go figure. We found out that there was an air quality type of a deal that allowed us to do planning related to transit. Because what you'll see and what you've heard this morning is that there's a change in Washington. This actually started happening during the Bush administration, where the federal government realized that the old ways of doing things could not continue to exist in the new way because the world had changed. And so just funding transportation projects for the sole purpose of moving people was no longer the way to do it. And so they are looking at not only the environmental issues, but economic issues, job growth, not getting people from A to B, but connecting job center and job center, economic center, economic opportunity. And that's how we look at it. And guess what? When you connect economic center with economic center, guess what you also do? People get to move from point A to point B. People change, investment changes. And so we've seen that there's a lot of things in HUD, Department of Energy, Department of Transportation, and we've become very, very good at looking at these little nooks and crannies of grants, these special places to tie in our initiative, which is to build a better community.